in the heart of Lincoln, America, bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bakovic.
Happy to be with you to talk some wrestling, our weekly coverage of the latest happenings in WWE and the world of wrestling. I am Jake Bakovic. This is Nuclear Heat. I am joined by my tag team partner, Nuclear Heat contributor Augie Pena, and we are ready to talk some wrestling. And we're also going to humble brag a little bit. Played some good basketball this past week at the Cornhusker State game, so congratulations to all the winners out there and everybody that played. It was a blast to go out there and play. And now, even though we may not look the most athletic of those that sit in these seats, we have to be considered athletes now, Augie, I think.
Yeah. We went out there, we did our thing. You lit it up. So it was a fun time, and it reminded us just maybe how far of a gap there is maybe between us and some, maybe some collegiate athletes, but we did our job. We did a good job out there.
Yeah. So we got to have our fun as well as talk some wrestling. So we get our little, like I said, tag team partners. So we get a little chemistry outside of the booth as well on the court. But it was kind of an interesting week in wrestling as we inch closer to SummerSlam. We're seeing kind of everything put together. And the SummerSlam card, I think, is interesting. There's a few matches that you're excited about. Definitely lacks the headliner of maybe like traditional, well, like WrestleMania, like where The Rock or Brock Lesnar or John Cena, or one of those deals of just like, wow, okay. And so it's a lot of just kind of highlighting the younger talent, if you will call it that, although some of them are getting a little bit older themselves, but not your traditional stars. So I think that's kind of interesting in general. And one star that's not likely to be there that we haven't seen too much on TV lately is Bobby Lashley, who is leaning toward testing the free agency market. Reports are out there, and when his deal is up. Now, I don't know exactly when his deal is up. I know Cage Side Seats looked at the report. They did not find out exactly when his deal was up, but Bobby Lashley maybe stepping away from the WWE, testing free agency, maybe could make an impact in AEW, certainly could be a star that they build around. We've said that about a lot of guys that they even take and don't necessarily do that with. But do you think that it is maybe time for Bobby Lashley to step away? It's been interesting because they've paired him most recently with the Street Profits. Mm-hmm. That just really hasn't gone anywhere. I don't know if it's a lack of chemistry. To me, just kind of a lack of writing. They never really put them in a position to gain too much attention or to gain too much steam as a new faction. Remember, he was supposed to take on Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, 2 years ago now, 2 WrestleManias ago at least, and really hasn't even recovered from that. They've just never had anything creative for him to kind of put him back on the spot. Has in recent years, in his most recent return, has become world champion, has been U.S. champion, and had a pretty good group together there with MVP. And before MVP left him for Omos, but I always expected Omos and Bobby Lashley, maybe the MVP, to work that group together, maybe even get Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander back together for what was it? The Hurt Business, what it was. So. Maybe MVP also, his deal is up mid-August. There's a chance that he could be traveling along with Bobby Lashley to the next promotion. For what it's worth, also Tamina, her name is being thrown out there as somebody that might be in free agency as well. But I guess as far as my take on it is, like, I don't think this would be, if we do see Bobby Lashley leave the company, I don't think this would be the last we see of Bobby Lashley, but he does kind of feel like he needs either some good writing or just, a break, and sometimes a refresh can kind of help you, even if it's a few years away from the company.
Yeah. And they did him so dirty the last couple of years. I think, like you said, just 2 years ago, he won the world WWE championship. He was WWE champ, and they had a good storyline. I think one of the biggest mistakes Triple H did here was when he paired him with the Street Profits to create the Pride. They turned him babyface. And I think that really hurt them because I think Bobby Lashley is really strong as a heel. He's got that heel look. But man, a lot of great memories with him. I forgot he was on the roster because he hasn't. I think I saw he wrestled 5 matches this year so far. And then his WrestleMania match was it Nick Killian Cross? It was against them, right? That partially broke it. That brought it down. They keep feeding well, I guess feeding people to Cross. I don't know how you want to say it because Cross isn't getting any benefits of it either.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just wasn't working out here, and you kind of forget he's there. If he goes to AEW, good for him. I don't think he's done. I think he's only like 45, so still, and I mean he's just
Great. Doesn't
yeah.
age.
Yeah,
So
no,
that
it
helps.
still looks like when we were watching, in
Right.
2006, looks exactly the same. And his athletic ability is just amazing. And if he and MVP can go to AEW or somewhere else like that, they can maybe live up to the hype they had with the Hurt Business on there. So yeah, excited to see where he goes. A little sad because he could be a player in the WWE if they really did him right. I think the WWE is lacking like that big physical heel. He's kind of another Braun Breaker, with that.
Better, I think, at times with a mouthpiece.
Yes,
So I think
yes,
the MVP
yes.
pairing was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but MVP, I think the writing on the wall was there. I don't know if you've seen that. MVP's kind of been calling out Triple H and has been really against the WWE right now. So you can kind of see this. And I didn't even realize Tamina was still on the roster. When was the last time she's 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago? She's part of that Samoan family. So, she's benefiting from that a little bit. But yeah, Bobby Lashley, MVP, they'll probably go to AEW, team up somewhere there. Do something with it. But, Bobby Lashley will forever be remembered, for those, what was it, 2007, 2008, Donald Trump versus Mr. McMahon.
That's right.
Shaving the head.
Shave your head match.
What was it? Umaga versus Bobby Lashley.
That's right, yeah.
At WrestleMania. That was, what a time to watch WWE. That was fun.
Well, and that's part of it too. Is he might not be, like I said, they're kind of highlighting a lot of their younger stars, if you will, and he might not be the most over from his era, but he is still a name. It's kind of like to my non-wrestling fans, I'll try to be like, yeah, remember Randy Orton? I'll be like, I don't really remember Randy Orton. So I don't think he's necessarily like an Undertaker or something where non-wrestling fans will know him. But for a lot of people, it is an era. He's been wrestling around for a long enough time that it was either part of their childhood or part of the time that they grew up. So as the days go by and everybody gets older, you might have less of those guys. But of course, it's the WWE, so I think you will have, like I said, I think even if he does go and do something in AEW, I think at some point you will see Bobby Lashley back in the WWE if he does depart. By the way, again, it's just at this point just testing free agency. As reportedly got an offer, didn't jump at it, didn't necessarily excite him. Again, I think part of it is probably where, if you're sitting down in a meeting, what's next for me? Because what has been for me isn't doing anything for me. It's kind of put him in this position. Obviously, if he had a belt or was in a prominent storyline, he'd probably be signing that contract already. Yeah. So we'll wait and see. Like you said, I completely forgot about that Final Testament thing, which how could I forget when I watched it for 10 weeks in a row? But I mostly fast forwarded through those segments as I do with most of the Final Testament, in all honesty. This is a show that is anti-Final Testament. We've come out very strongly against that. SmackDown in Omaha. We'll get to Raw here, the most recent WWE show here in Green Bay. But SmackDown was in Omaha locally here as we have our show in Lincoln, Nebraska. First of all, did you go? Did you know anybody that went? Why did you not go if you did not?
So I did not go, one, because we plugged it in before. We had our basketball tournament, which included us playing. We are not the youngest anymore. We're not old. Included us playing 5 basketball games in 2 days.
Yeah, 40-minute games.
Yes, 40-minute games. So I knew I needed whatever energy I still have left. So if I would have driven to Omaha, gone to SmackDown, it would have been a really late night. And, our bedtimes are like, 10 now? So, I really needed that. So that's really the main reason is because, we ended up having that tournament there. And secondly, this SmackDown just didn't really excite me. I know we talk about wrestling. We say we're big fans, the diehards kind of stick with it through it all. But when you look at what happened at this one, this really was kind of like a filler show. So sorry, Omaha, we kind of got the Nebraska treatment there, on it, but yeah, it would have been cool to see some of these guys. I've never seen, Tiffany Stratton. I don't think I've seen Chelsea Green, Terrence Crawford made an appearance there. Some of those guys, Cody Rhodes. I don't think Cody Rhodes has been here in Lincoln. Yeah, I don't think
he's in Omaha. I saw him in Omaha.
Oh, you saw him in Omaha? See, I've never been to an event in Omaha. I've only been to like they bring them to Lincoln like twice a year. So we're lucky we get that. But yeah, I've never seen them. So it would have been nice to see them. But yeah, just just didn't work out to get there. And I don't know anyone else that made
Yeah.
it out to the SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, if there was a card out there that looked great, then I might would have made it. Like I said, Logan Paul was kind of the interest. Is he going to bring a celebrity along? They didn't necessarily pair Terrence Bud Crawford with Logan Paul. Kind of had him, get some of the good guy rub from Cody. But the next day, I think he was around town in Omaha with Terrence Crawford. So I think I think that's still your connection, and I don't know what they're going to do. Again, I am more and more as time goes by more of a fan of Logan Paul. Didn't really know him, kind of annoyed me as I think he's supposed to do. At the beginning, and then you could see he could really wrestle. And now that they've given this belt, and it's one of the longer runs I think in the belt's history. Which is the U.S. title belt. And I don't know. I mean, LA Knight, of course, they're positioning that for SummerSlam. That'll be interesting. But Logan Paul's just been really good in my mind for wrestling. I don't know if it's necessarily, going to blow it up or anything more so than it already is, but it definitely gets a different set of eyeballs on it, and just kind of mainstreams it a little bit. But the best part about it is, we've seen celebrity wrestlers come in and, they're all right, or you can get away with a spot or two. Logan Paul is fantastic, one of the best in-ring wrestlers as far as entertainment, because he's willing to fly from anywhere that I think they even have on the roster. So it's not exactly David Arquette winning the WCW title back in the day. It's really been fun and enjoyable to watch, and I'm be honest, I look forward to the Logan Paul scenes. All that being said, did not quite get me to Omaha, because the other match on the card, I mean, they did say Cody was going to be there, but Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes isn't going to do it enough for me. Like you said, maybe would want to see Tiffany Stratton, but it's, I don't know. They've been I think a part of it too is just I've been to maybe 3 or 4 of them in the last couple of years, or just kind of, like you said, they make it to Nebraska once or twice a year, it seems like now, which I don't know if that's the way it always has been. It hasn't felt that way to me for quite some time. And then these last couple of years, they've been making it back. So I feel bad, because, like you said, we as guys that care enough about pro wrestling to discuss it for an hour every week on a radio show, you'd think that we'd want to make the draw. But I just don't think the card was right there. I'd like to show out for the WWE and make sure that they do keep Indeed coming back to Nebraska. But apologies, I was not able to make it. But
you know what? Last thing, it was thunderstorming on Friday night, so we had to keep our safety in mind. We had to, we couldn't make the 50-minute drive in those severe thunderstorms. They weren't horrible, but
Well, I noticed that while I was watching SmackDown too, as the weather kind of took away from even some of. I couldn't completely view every match. So in fact, it was the Bianca Belair Chelsea Green match that I instead watched weather reports, because I didn't have a choice here in Lincoln, Nebraska. But a little bit disappointed by that. We can get to some of the matches there from SmackDown. Basically a squash match. Bianca Belair squashing Chelsea Green. They kind of set this up with a promo, earlier in the show. That seems really. I mean, Chelsea Green. This is as good as as high as she's been and put over as a wrestler. I understand part of the whole gimmick is, as we saw with the Money in the Bank match, at the beginning of it, is that, she's kind of got her, she's not, they don't paint her as the brightest, right? But I'm really disappointed, because I was hoping that they would kind of take this and run with it and move her up the card into more of a prominent role, and beating Bianca Belair certainly would have done that. So it kind of makes you, I like when they do that in wrestling, to where you don't know what's going to happen. Like, you're pretty sure Bianca Belair is going to win that one, but they did recently push Chelsea Green. But here they go with the squash match, and at least to me, make it a drag out fight where you at least push Chelsea Green over. But didn't happen.
No, I agree with you. And I mean, she's shown when she gets the very limited opportunity she gets at match, she can wrestle.
She's
she can put on. And I know people, the look and the comedy act and all that stuff, but she's an athlete. She's actually pretty good, and this was pretty disappointing to see, because I was with you. I was like, oh, they're gonna actually do something. It's not gonna be the run of the mill, she talks a lot, this and that. No, it just right away is boom 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 again, and you're like, man, this is just so disappointing. It's because I would say behind Tiffany Stratton on the SmackDown roster, she's probably the number 2 or 3 most popular, fan favorite, I would say probably. And to just continue to do this, I think this is one of those WWE is just kind of missing the mark on that, kind of what we want.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see what they do with Chelsea Green. Of course, she's always entertaining, and they'll keep that going. But not exactly expected to beat Bianca Belair at this point. So and it's weird too. Belair, are they going to go back after the tag team titles? It's tough to tell too. She's a single star.
Yeah,
kind of stuck in a tag team title, trying to bring up a new member to the WWE roster. But I'm sure she would like to be kind of have a single spotlight on her too. But I've argued for years before not years, but at least a year, that she kind of needed something new to her character. So this tag team with Jade Cargill has kind of helped. They won it, lost it quickly. It's tough to tell where they are creatively with them, and with someone with that star power, and especially with the entrance and I guess the grand grand entrance altogether for Jade Cargill. It's just surprised with SummerSlam coming up.
Yeah.
Nothing really for him.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. And I think we've mentioned, I think a big part of it is Jade is just so green. So maybe they had plans and they've kind of seen her botches, just seen that she can't really perform as well. Yeah, she's held back. I actually saw a clip where people were like, they're kind of planning it. So they were in their matches, Bianca and Jade doing it, all that stuff. And Bianca would have to move her physically and stuff like that. So, that really could mess up their plans there. But I'm with you there. I was really hoping Jade versus, Bianca, that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. But right now, I mean, no idea. I think the best thing is probably just keep them together and just have them keep going after those titles.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll see them go after them. Maybe that will be set up for SummerSlam. We will see. By the way, we mentioned Terrence Crawford. He is, of course, if you're not listening from somewhere outside of Omaha, he's the star of Omaha, and was shown and acknowledged in the crowd. They even promoted his next upcoming fight. Ended up handing Cody Rhodes a chair so he could get the upper hand against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. But that was kind of including Terrence Crawford, including celebrities like they have recently, has been awesome. But as soon as Austin Theory, and when their music hits in Grayson Waller and they're coming out against Cody, you're kind of thinking they're at that moment.
Yeah,
this is not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Terrence Crawford is the number one ranked pound for pound boxer in the world. So, that, like you said, it's excitement. It was great. We were talking about last week. I was like, who are they going to bring out, from Omaha? And I see on the screen, I'm like, how could I forget Terrence Crawford? The biggest name outside of, Husker Athletics there. But yeah, I was excited for it, all that. And then it was them, it wasn't even, the bloodline, something like that. It was literally Austin Theory. And you're like, man, this is really the Omaha, Nebraska treatment is just what I'm going to kind of call it for SmackDown. Yeah. It wasn't all that much for the show. And that's a little bit disappointing, but Terrence, gave him the chair, Cody worked with it. Cody was kind of dressed I thought, to do something there. So that, that got some excitement. But we didn't even get to see the whoa, because I think the whoa was during one of the severe weather alerts right away. I was watching it and I'm like, oh yeah, how's Omaha going to do with the whoa? And then you're like, really? Don't even get to see that there. So just wasn't working out for Omaha for SmackDown on Friday.
I'm sure once Raw at least moves to Netflix, we won't have to deal with severe weather alerts. But they did. I mean, and we'll get to a couple of the other matches on SmackDown here, but just jumping because it ties in with the opening. They did have A-Town Down Under against Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. And of course, the good guys come up on top. Kind of just strange because it took away from the fact that Cody Rhodes is in this absolute blood feud with the Bloodline. And so that naturally popped up. The Bloodline comes out and takes out KO as their celebration for their victory was cut short. So we will see. I mean, that's kind of the story they're telling, is that, and KO obviously back. If you haven't heard, his mother made it through her health scare, well enough that he was able to go back there. So thankful for that. But they're kind of telling the story of the new Bloodline taking out Cody Rhodes' buddies. Yeah, and another storyline they're really kind of starting to tell is the Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton story. I don't know if obviously there's some of those Orton's kind of eyeing the championship, and then his whole entrance, Cody Rhodes in Omaha was, how Randy gave him the opportunity. Randy's his good friend. Yeah. Randy this and that. You're kind of like, wait a minute.
Well, I want the bloodline feud to end because I'm like, I kind of want to see, the Viper come back and, maybe strike on Cody and, have those two kind of go after it. Because I think that'd be a fun, entertaining match there. With it there, but yeah, this was kind of the same thing they've kind of always been doing. Just Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, or Randy. All three of them against the Bloodline, kind of something they've been doing for the past couple years with these tag teams. And if you notice, Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes have kind of been a part of it for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Every main event, they're in somewhat of a tag team or a triple, something like that. On it like that. But I'm going to tell you this: Jacob Fatu looks like if they really wanted to push somebody from that bloodline, they're pushing the wrong guy, and they need to push him because he looks like the real deal for sure.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely have his time when he rises, and of course. As you mentioned it too, I think Randy Orton would be fun. Maybe that's the swerve at SummerSlam. I don't think so. I think you've got to pay off Roman Reigns or The Rock or something with the bloodline coming back. But I suppose that would be on the solo side. So maybe you could have a Randy swerve, cost them the match, whatever. You kind of solo celebrating, and then Roman's music hits or something like that. So it at least gives you a couple different options and a couple things to think about. Heading into that. We've still got to go over Raw. A few things on SmackDown as well. Tiffany Stratton needs to get a new briefcase. That's one thing. So we'll get to that here in just a few moments. We're going to take a quick break. This is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket, our weekly coverage of the latest happenings in WWE and the world of wrestling. We'll be back after this.
Because the NCAA is asking them to do that, it feels like they're getting their wallet stolen, money taken out of it, and it's not their idea, so they're against it.
Yeah.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here after a quick round of WWE speed in the studio. No, I didn't do that. But squash match. No, none of that. But we are back here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket, going over the latest goings on in WWE and reviewing SmackDown and Raw as we inch closer to SummerSlam. We get through most of SmackDown in Omaha. Just a few more matches to go over before we're done. Andrade did defeat Carmelo Hayes. Of course, both those guys performed well in Money in the Bank. I thought they put on a pretty good match here. Not really sure the significance of it moving forward. I'm sure we'll see maybe more of a feud between the two of them. But it just kind of feels like a match, just to have a match.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you're going to have to do that here and now and then in WWE. But Andrade is a good performer. Carmelo Hayes, still new, definitely arrogant. And we will see what they do with these characters. But there's just, to me, just not much to say about it. And like I said, that was part of the match card going into the Omaha, and you're just kind of going, oh, okay, it's there.
Yeah, and this was kind of maybe like a feeler, like you said, maybe see kind of what their chemistry was, see if they can maybe create something. Because like you said, there was really no buildup, no nothing to it, no reason for them to go out, except for, hey, we need a match.
Carmelo talked a little bit of
yeah.
They had like a thing where Andrade got interviewed and Carmelo interrupted it, but that
always feels really
by the
forced
numbers.
to me. Yeah. It's one of those, they have nothing and I'll just go interrupt him and make him mad and let's go do a fight. But I thought it was a pretty decent fight. They're both super athletic. I don't know about you, but Carmelo Hayes, is he really clinging on to you? Kind of like I feel like they're trying to get him to be, somebody that's really coming up, but he's kind of just missing a little bit there.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something that is missing there. I don't know if it's connection, with the crowd exactly. I talked about it before where I think sometimes you do yourself a disfavor if you're positioning them before they need to be positioned. Like I know how silly it is, but for a week they were building everything around this draft.
Yeah,
and you take him number one, and then you just don't do anything with him. Like it didn't make any sense whatsoever to take Carmelo Hayes number one. But if you are going to do it, at least have a story have something for him other than that night taking on Cody Rhodes. This will be his introduction. We talked about maybe wasting the money in the bank. That's a waste of a number one draft pick. You can build a story around it, and to a degree, he'll mention it here and there, but it's a disconnect. And every time I see him, it's just kind of like, why was that guy drafted number one? And then it bothers me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It doesn't feel like it was what they should have done. And it felt like maybe they had something they wanted to do and then just kind of completely dropped it. It's like, oh yeah, he's not connecting with us. It's not working. So let's just drop it and turn him into this arrogant guy that's just going to interrupt everybody. And he's kind of everywhere. He's aligning with all the bad guys. He's kind of just trash talking. Like it's like they're plugging him in everywhere to see where it can fit. And then ultimately, he's going to lose to Andrade, who's great in the ring as well. But yeah, it just feels like they don't know what to do with him after bringing him up from NXT. And it'll take time. He's young and he's athletic. He can do it all, but it just seems really forced right now, and it's just not working.
Yeah, both of them very good in the ring, as we mentioned, but neither of them necessarily have a story to cling to. So we'll see if they can kind of draw something up for one of them. And then the other story here, Tiffany Stratton against Michin. Bayley shows up and distracts Tiffany by taking out Nia Jax. Of course, Nia Jax has the first shot at Bayley. At least we believe it will be the first shot at SummerSlam. But Tiffany Stratton has that briefcase. That was until Bayley completely destroyed the briefcase. Yim took advantage of the moment and rolled up Tiffany for the win, which they do often, distraction, roll up, win. We saw a similar thing to me at Raw, and I can go quickly with this comparison where Zelina Vega beat Zoe Stark. And sure, Mia Yim and Zelina Vega haven't had a whole lot of wins, so at least for their character, it does something. But it just really, like, I get the distraction part, but you do not need Tiffany Stratton, who you're trying to position as a potential champion if she can beat Bayley, losing to Michin, who hasn't really had a whole lot of quality wins since really
ever
in the main roster. She was part of, was it Retribution? Yeah,
and then she's with the OC. They plugged her in and that didn't work.
And it's the same thing with Zoe Stark, where her group, it was like earlier in the night, they gave her a victory with Sonya Deville, over Lyra Valkyria, which was, okay, Lyra's beating some people. They're actually getting behind this group. And then they go with the distraction. I get it. It puts heat on their little fight that they're going. But Zoe Stark, you need to, and it's not the same. Zelina Vega at least has, competed for championships lately, but who needs that win more? And again, maybe that's part of the storytelling they think they're doing is, hey, this person needed the win, and then this distraction caused them the loss, so that we need to put this other person over. But especially Tiffany Stratton losing to Michin, and I get it too. They're building up Michin. She's kind of been Bayley's partner as far as fighting Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, so maybe she did need something like this. But I don't know. I just didn't feel it.
No, I agree with you. And this was the main event, wasn't it? This was the way SmackDown went off air, and it went off air um with Tiffany just taking that loss. If I remember correctly, Friday just kind of feels like a blur. It feels like it was so long ago now. I just remember I was stunned. I was like you. I was like, why? Why that doesn't like destroy the briefcase, but don't have her take a pin like that. That just because they're literally trying to push her to the moon right now. And you take your lumps and all that stuff. But like you said, it just Misha, I can't remember when's the last time she did anything. Other than the last month or two, she's been kind of the squash match there. And this one's just a big trip up. I don't agree with it because a lot of times they'll, like you said, get a loss and then kind of go from there. But I mean, Bailey's reign hasn't been great.
No.
You don't need this. You can just keep Tiffany as she's going. She's catching up to Bailey in terms of, from what I see, people are ready for this, for Bailey to drop that title to either Nia or Tiffany, and kind of, get one of those storylines going there. So yeah, you just don't need this. And it's just kind of mind boggling, at least with the Zelina Vega thing. She was wearing like that brace or something. And they said it was that, she realized, she used that. So that was something, but this one was just mind boggling. And you don't have, it's kind of like, I know it's not like that, but Roman getting pinned, by Jay or Cody getting, it's just like, you don't need that to happen. Like, I know we get tired of kind of the Super Cena treatments people get, but if they're going to lose, have Tiffany lose to Bailey, have her lose to somebody who's credible, not Mishan, who I bet you if we looked in the past 3 years, she's maybe had 3 wins. It's like, and one of those is Tiffany Stratton now. So, hey, maybe they're going to build her up or do something. you don't know, I guess, how they're going to flip it, but mind boggling what they decided to do there.
Now, you mentioned, and I agree with you, that Bailey's championship run has, obviously I think it was hurt a little bit too, because it was so predictable. Like they set it up for half a year for her to beat Io Sky in Damage Control and get that victory and all that. And so it was the feel good moment at WrestleMania, sure. But it was, you could see it coming from a mile away. And her character is kind of lost post Damage Control, just kind of good girl, but what's really behind her character. So I think that hurts a little bit too. Do you think beating Queen of the Ring and then Money in the Bank winner would juice up a title reign for you, or would you rather see them give it to Nia Jax and then have Tiffany Stratton, maybe at SummerSlam cash in on her or set up a rivalry there?
That's a good question. I feel like it'd give her some credibility if she could, beat both of them. I think that'd be really good if they were to continue her run there. I don't see her getting past both of them. You have Nia win Queen of the Ring, and we know my feeling. We know your feelings. You like Nia. I'm not her biggest fan, but even she kind of has more going for her right now than Bailey does. And then of course Tiffany. We all know what we think of her. Push her to the moon. She's kind of your Rhea Ripley of the SmackDown division right now, which is very lacking in talent on the women's side. I think I don't know. On there because there's really no credible threat to Bailey outside of Nia Jax and Tiffany. So if she beats both of them, then you're kind of in a what do you do there? Who do you have waiting? So I just think I think it's going to end up being Tiffany at the end of it. That cashes in, or even your girl Nia. Give her another championship reign and kind of have them have some fun with that. Just with Bailey, the odd thing to me is she beats Damage Control, and then there's absolutely nothing after that. It's like rest. And I know we complain about that sometimes too, how they kind of redo matches, but it's like they had this big buildup, and then it was like that was it. The one match, and they just forgot about it. It wasn't this long 2-year, 3-year thing that they were doing. It just was all gone, and then they put her into this friendship rivalry with Naomi and then Tiffany. It's been Tiffany pretty much since then. It just hasn't worked.
Mission partner again.
Yeah.
It's almost like kind of a bad rub because she hasn't been doing anything. So it's like, okay, now they're trying to use Bailey to get Mission over, and it's kind of dragging Bailey down a little bit. Maybe. I mean, I don't, it's just surprising to see even in these last couple of weeks when she was being attacked, like who's going to help her? Oh, it's Misha. And you're like, but she's not among these four. She's not, in the same position. So it's just kind of, it's been weird. I am excited to see what they do with it though, because I think, kind of going through that gauntlet would be fun. And keep in mind too, that a women's Money in the Bank winner has never failed a cash in. So they could tell that story if they want to, but then you'd be having both the men's and women's failed cash in 1 year. And then, next time Money in the Bank rolls around, we're just going to go, well, does it really even matter?
Yeah.
So I think they have to go with Tiffany Stratton at some point. Who she cashes in on, I will be interested. I think it would be kind of fun to do the McIntyre way that they did at SummerSlam, where or they should do at SummerSlam, where maybe Nia wins and then surprise she gets cashed in on.
Yeah, but I don't know. They're making a big deal about getting her this new briefcase. You don't know if she's going, because her, as you mentioned, her briefcase got completely destroyed. There's been rumors that she's going to kind of Barbie it up, Stratton it up or whatever you call it. I don't know if you want to, go into that whole storyline and then a week later, have her cash it in. So they could swerve us just to have the briefcase around, kind of like Damian Priest did,
Yeah.
So
the briefcase can be something, at least, when we always say, you look at a wrestler, say, well, they don't really have anything going for them. If you have the briefcase, you definitely have something going for you. You definitely have a storyline. You definitely have a gimmick to kind of stick to. So we'll see what they do there. Let's take another quick break and we'll round out the show. We'll talk about WWE Raw from Green Bay last night. I thought it was a pretty good show, and we can get, sorry. Oh, a little technical difficulties there. We can get into that next here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Legislature will soon meet in special session and may
quick breaker.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring a friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax in the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month.
hurry. This deal ends soon.
See Home Club for details.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you want to come and text us,
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
This is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket. Time to talk some WWE Raw. One of my favorite things, by the way, in wrestling, and it used to be maybe more with like Stephanie McMahon did it really well, but at the opening of Raw, when he said, "Welcome to Monday Night Raw." So I gave my shot at doing there a little bit there, talking about some WWE Raw. From Green Bay, Wisconsin last night, Gunther opening up the King of the Ring winner, kicked off Monday's show with an in-ring promo, basically bringing down Damian Priest. Damian Priest gets into the ring, is about to get in a war of words and says, never mind, throw the mic down, get into a fight. They get in a big brawl. Eventually, even Damian Priest looking to get the better of Gunther as it heads outdoors, at least with a head slam there. So interesting way to start this off. I mean, not necessarily rewriting the way you do wrestling. A big brawl before a SummerSlam kind of makes some sense here. But are you starting to believe a little bit more in Damian Priest? It is worth noting him and Rhea Ripley of the Judgment Day, typically a heel faction, are kind of in these feuds where yes, they're still kind of heels, but they're kind of not.
Yeah.
And they're kind of the favorites. And when they do the little guitar hero looking graphic, which I'm not necessarily a big fan of that either. And not a fan of Cleveland, where they're going for SummerSlam. Not a fan of a lot of that stuff. But he's especially there, just kind of with his little graphics that they're throwing up there, looks like the face. And another part of that is Gunther is getting absolute heel heat as the crowd is turning on him. He's being mean to everybody in the crowd, so it's very easy for Gunther to get that. But definitely interesting that Damian Priest is a face now.
Yeah, and I kind of like it. I'm kind of torn though, because his best work is when he's with the Judgment Day when they're heels, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the whole Judgment Day as a whole, if you look at it, they're, aside from maybe Finn Balor and JD, they're all kind of turning a little face. You got Dom kind of in the middle of it, begging and stuff, and then Carlito's just, there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do that. So, they're all kind of, they're in a weird spot right now, but I kind of like it. I like that, the whole bra thing, throwing security, all that stuff. And I kind of like that it's Damian going after Gunther, because they fight here and then they do the backstage, where the interview, all that. And then it's Damian that attacks him again. And I think one of the things is everybody's saying that Damian's reign kind of hasn't been great. I think this is maybe getting something behind him. I think it's a little too late because I don't think you can have Damian retain against
Certainly
Gunther.
He's just got to avoid a botch.
Yeah.
This next one, that botched pin is going to be hard to forget.
Yeah, but I will say Gunther is delivering as a heel. He's doing a great job, getting that heat. It's close to nuclear heat. It is. You can almost not hear him when he talks. And I mean, I have a hard time understanding him in the first place when he's talking at times there because, his accent is so thick. But man, as long as there's no botches, I think this could be one of the best matches on the SummerSlam card. And they're trying to make us believe that Damian has a real chance here. I just don't think you can with all this buildup for Gunther. But then you kind of think of it, it's like if you have Damian lose, you can kind of have this go for a little bit, but then the Judgment Day kind of goes down. And if you have Gunther lose, where does he go? So it's they can kind of play with some things here. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Damian's gonna retain that title. He's gonna surprise. He's gonna surprise. They got me believing after last night and the night before last week. So
well, it's interesting too because they've with their backstage segments with the Judgment Day, Finn Balor's sometimes just kind of been quietly nod his head, do whatever the leaders tell him. Now he's setting up his own matches. He wants a shot at Gunther. Damian Priest has already asked him to stay out of it. So if they do go the route of Gunther winning, I think maybe we could see a Finn Balor, Damian Priest, give them something to do. Maybe butting heads once again there. So we'll kind of have to wait and see on that. Then we had Ilya Dragunov and Braun Breaker fight for the chance at Sami Zayn in his Intercontinental title at SummerSlam. This was a great match. Two guys that have done it before in NXT, but did it on the main roster here. And Braun Breaker wins and gets his rematch against Sami Zayn at SummerSlam. We were kind of questioning maybe if Breaker shouldn't. We were questioning every time Breaker loses or doesn't get the belt, as we've said before. But you like this? Another go around. We saw this as the last premium live event, but do you need something different? Do you need Dragunov involved? Do you need this? They have a special guest referee somewhere else, or do you think just a straight up rematch is fine here?
I think you need a straight up rematch because I think Braun has to take it this time, and Dragunov, like you said, this was the best match by far of the night. Like the two of them can do something. But Braun, he has it now. He's ready. Give him that Intercontinental Championship. He lost cleanly, surprisingly, as we said to Sami. So, you get him a clean win. And then they can kind of go for a third time, where he hopefully could retain it there too. But I think you just go straight on one-on-one. It's got to be a clean Braun win. Because if Sami somehow retains, then I think you get into real messy waters there. Because then you have Braun losing to him twice.
Yeah.
All his momentum, kind of everything, he's doing right now is just, I think, washed away if that happens.
Yeah, I think Braun's got to get that at SummerSlam as well. We mentioned Sonya Deville beating Lyra Valkyria earlier in the show. Then we had the Uncle Howdy video. Abby the Witch was kind of highlighted here. Fine, the horror movie type of deal there, but didn't really lead to anything till later in the night. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre finally get their opportunity to fight each other. McIntyre has had so many things cost. CM Punk has cost him so much. They did this with Liv later in the night. They did it with Drew here. The guy that has been been kicked. I mean, just lost everything. All of a sudden doesn't want to get his hands on the person that he's been chasing for months. I think with Liv and in this case, just doesn't, it just kind of takes you out of the storyline a little bit because they should be wanting to get at each other's throats. Of course, you're doing that with Gunther and Damon Priest. You can't do that with every battle as we lead up to it. But surprise, Seth Rollins' music hits, and ultimately he's announced as the celebrity ref here. Obviously, he's got a problem with both of them. So kind of interesting, certainly, usage of Seth Rollins at SummerSlam.
Yeah, this one really surprised me. You knew he was going to be inserted somehow, but the fact that Adam Pearce is like, I'm going to get somebody, to do this, it just doesn't make sense that it'd be Seth Rollins. I guess it does. It does in WWE terms. You always get somebody that hates both of them. But this does make it interesting because now this isn't going to be clean. Seth hates both of them. Oh man, who was it? Was it HBK? Shawn Michaels was it for one. I forgot who it was against, but he was a hilarious ref. He was not counting. I think they've had John Cena do that a couple times too.
Yeah.
They just don't do the pins, and then they eventually turn. So this kind of does add something to it. It's not the way I would have probably booked it. I would have probably made like a triple threat, something happen there. But this does get me excited for it. I mean, because like you said, Drew and CM Punk, I think is going to feed, just going to feed everybody. It's just going to be great. And then you have Seth in there kind of doing his Joker thing, not calling it down the middle. It's going to be a fun time there. But yeah, I was very surprised with you that, they didn't have them brawl a little bit at least. I feel like if any feud was going to brawl, it would have been this one instead of the Damian Gunther one.
Yeah.
But I mean, they want to really protect it and save it because now they can't touch each other or else they're suspended. You know how that goes. On there. So it's going to be a whole bunch of one of them baiting the other, to see who can have it. So good thing SummerSlam's only a week and a half away.
Yeah. And also, good thing that the general manager is pretty forgiving. He was, Drew McIntyre did apologize there to the refs there.
Yeah, that is true.
It was like, all right, let's just move along this storyline. So that was kind of interesting. Don't want to talk about this too much because it involves the Final Testament. But Xavier Woods, Akira Tozawa on his birthday, and hometown Otis, taking on the Final Testament. Ultimately, Xavier Woods gets pinned. And so you kind of can continue that storyline there as much as anybody wants it. But the big deal here was that Otis would refuse to basically join Chad Gable. Chad Gable came out with the Creed brothers, kind of his new group. And they started to attack Otis after this. And that is when the Wyatt Six music hits. And we actually finally saw some action. Bo Dallas, of course, as Uncle Howdy. Little bit of a different mask, something that we were wondering that mask that he had worn before as Uncle Howdy just was not going to be something that he could use in ring. Very much paying homage to his brother with the dreadlocks and the sister Abigail on Chad Gable. I thought this was a great way to move this chapter forward, and now a little bit of nostalgia with waiting for the music to turn or the lights to turn off and Sister Abigail to get hit.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought, like you said, all the month of waiting, the videos and all that stuff. I thought this was a great payoff, and I am pretty excited to see where they go to this. They saved Otis. They chose to save. Otis. I mean, we could look at it as they attacked Gable, but they saved him. So I guess we'll see where they go from there.
Yeah, a few other things from the evening of Raw last night. We did have Jey Uso and Sami Zayn take on the Judgment Day, the tag team champions in Finn Balor and McDonough. And Uso and Sami Zayn get the win. Zayn then gets attacked by Breaker, kind of adding heat to that. I'll just say quickly, as we said with champions before, don't like to see him get pinned. This happens all the time to tag teams champs where you put them against two single stars and they lose. I think that's the last we saw of Mercedes Moné in the WWE. Sasha Banks, she didn't like that treatment. I don't like it either. They haven't even had a match, I don't think, to defend, or
I think they've had one.
Had one.
Yeah, they had one
as champions. So I don't necessarily like that. But the story to finish with here: Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Rhea Ripley, not quite forgiving Dom, brings him out to the ring. Very much not happy with him, because he ran into Liv once again in the back in the backstage area. Eventually, Dom just goes off on Liv, says he doesn't like her, all that stuff, and she cries. and leaves, and that's kind of the end. Then Rhea Ripley licks Dom Dom, and they are okay, I suppose, from here on out. Good way to kind of move the story forward after weeks of wondering what is Rhea Ripley's reaction to all this.
This, first off, their segment is not even PG-13 anymore. They're just going straight for this is what Netflix is going to be.
Liv's just like, here's my butt.
And then the funny part was, the reason Rhea was mad was because Finn essentially set up Dom. They were looking for Jay, and Finn's like, oh, you go that way. And Liv was right there, so you kind of have that, that crack there. But yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Oh man, if Dom turns on Rhea or something, costs her or something at this SummerSlam match is going to be great. But I thought it was hilarious, seeing Liv cry, because she's all like, oh, you like me. And he's just going off in Spanish, I don't want you. I don't like you. You ruined my life. And I was laughing during the whole segment. I was like, dude, this is peak wrestling right here. This is the drama we love. This is why we tune in every week.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange that they've brought it to the point that Liv actually cares about Dom. I thought, that's not exactly how I would write it either. I thought, just kind of pestering him and stuff like that was kind of more funny as she was bothering Rhea. But apparently, at least as they're telling it, that she cares and is upset by this. So we'll have to see what happens next there. We'll let you know in next week's edition of Nuclear Heat. That'll wrap it up for this week. Our WWE Week in Review show, Nuclear Heat, every Tuesday here on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be back next week. More Ticket Weeknights coming up next.